Well, all right. Welcome to the show, Stan. Thank you for coming on. I saw your profile and I was very interested in what you had to say. And I thought it would be cool just to, have a free conversation about what you deal with. And I could throw a bunch of questions at you. I'm sure I'll have a million, and we can just do it that way.
All right. You did mention that you were interested in the Garden of Eden and Atlantis, those topics. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
I've got an opener here for you that I recorded for my DVD on the Garden of Eden. If you'd like to view
Sure.
that, I've got it on your screen, I think. I'll just play it for you.
Hit it. I love that song. All right. For
now,
radio
that is
listeners,
the real Garden of Eden.
Oh.
I actually went there later after we'd done this DVD and the lecture on it. But yeah, what have I got here? I've got something in here that's let me move a screen around so I can see what I'm doing here.
For radio listeners, it was like just a vast plain, beautiful with animals everywhere, and kind of what you would imagine the Garden of Eden.
You're looking at 100 square miles of area in that opener that was in the Ngoro crater in Tanzania. It's about 10 miles by 10 miles inside the crater. It's the only existing collapsed volcano that still has the walls up around the bottom of it. And that is the Garden of Eden. We've proven that several times over now then. And my team and I went there in 2018 in May and took a safari up to the north part of the island or the plateau. The Ngoro Plateau is what it's called. I'll just see if I can get a picture of that.
How do you explain proof that that's the Garden of Eden?
I went to the Bible, and the Bible, told us where things that were 4 great rivers came out of the garden to water the rest of the planet and to actually divide the continents. And so what we had to do was to put the Earth back together again, because the continents split, according to modern science, 100 million years ago. Pangea split up to form the continents, but that's an incorrect timeline. In a more recent time, in the last 10,000 years, the continents were together, and there was a catastrophic impact by an asteroid in the Indian Ocean that caused the flood and split the continents apart that were Pangea. And also the planet was 25% smaller in diameter than it is now before that asteroid hit. The impact of that and the heat it caused and the slowing down of our spin all caused the Earth to expand to its present diameter. So when you put everything back to where it was, original conditions at the time of before the flood, then the Garden of Eden, pretty much defines itself when you trace the rivers. Let's see here. I've got a picture, I think, here of the rivers of the world here. Let me see. Did I put that in there for you to see? There's a garden. Yeah. Okay. Now this background here, I'll just move out of the way here a bit. The Garden of Eden is down where that little blue arrow is in the left.
In Africa.
Yeah. Well, let me get out of the way of that.
Crap.
Okay. Now, I traced the rivers. The first one I found was up here in Iran area, and it was a clue in Genesis in Genesis, where it said, okay, and the borders like of Iran, where Kush was. It was the Kush, not in Africa, but the Kush in Asia. And when you go to the Kush in Asia with a K, which is what the Hebrew said, I started seeing if there were any areas in Asia there, from India all the way over to Turkey, looking for towns and rivers that might have something like Kish or Kush in the name. Now in those areas, they use things like a Q to equal, what a continent or a river or country, what it would be called. And so I looked and found that there were, let me just see if I can pull that up so I can point to it here. No, not that one. Sorry, I'm trying to get this up into an image place that I can show you. Just give me a second here.
So again, for radio listeners, Eden is like on the middle right side, the east side of Africa.
Right.
Which is not surprising, I guess I could
Tanzania,
say.
It's on the eastern side. It's to the right, or slightly to the east of Lake Victoria.
I was actually talking to my friend today, and I told him I was going to talk to you, and I was like, Stan says he knows where the Garden of Eden is, and I was like, I think it might be in the Galapagos, maybe.
No,
somewhere.
Now I'm going to share this screen with you, and you can tell your listeners from this. This is you can see the view here. And what I did was to first trace the places for Kish, Kush, Kashan, the Q and the K both, and it outlined all of Iran here, all the way and part of Afghanistan. There were border towns all calling, for the name of Kush.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, if this is Kush, and the Tigris went here, and the Gihon went there, and that's India, then I started tracing the rivers back in the mud maps of the ocean bottoms, plus what was on land. Now everybody's been looking for the Garden of Eden. The Israelis saw it's on the Temple Mount, in Jerusalem, is the Garden of Eden. That's rubbish. I mean, I've already cleared this with people and with rabbis in Israel who study this, and they know that what I'm saying is right. And people were looking for the Euphrates as one of the rivers that came from the Garden of Eden. And if you look here up in the top of this diagram where I got the blue arrow showing the Euphrates coming down from Turkey down toward the Arabic Gulf, or the Gulf of Arabia, now they call it. It used to be called the Persian Gulf. And one guy says he's found the Garden of Eden down in the bottom of the Persian Gulf. He forgets that the great four rivers that came out of Eden and flowed the other way, not in
Eden.
So then I looked in the Hebrew, and there's a clue in the ancient Hebrew. If they wanted to say the Euphrates River, which they call Farat, Phrit, Farat, they say Farat, Farat, and they repeat it twice. And it's two pieces. It's broken in half. So we're looking in the normal maps of where that red line is going down toward the Persian Gulf. That's a broken part of the Euphrates. Well, you say, okay, where's the other part of it? And you trace along the coast, when the continents are all back together again, there was a river flow along the Levant, where the Israel and Lebanon are. And it came through the Sinai Peninsula to the left of the Suez Canal, or slightly to the left of that. There are two paths that it could have taken. And you follow them back up into the Danical Plains here, down at the Gulf of Aden, believe it or not, they call it Eden, Aden. And you follow that red line up, which is what I did, because I found that the Tigris came in the bottom part of Iran there, where the blue line is. And that it came from there. And so I followed those back into the Great East African Rift, which comes up, and I traced it to its beginning, which, lo and behold, was the what's called the Ngoro crater right down there. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But that Ngoro crater was where all these rivers came from, and there were big gouges cut in the side of the crater, up in the north part of it on the plateau, where all these rivers started. Horrendous water flows came washing down there from the top of that.
So I have a question.
Only one.
I have a question. Is that where the rivers start?
Yeah.
How does a river start?
Okay. Now that's a good question. Now, these three rivers, Sharat, Gihon, and Hiddekel, they came from right here in the top of the Ngoro Plateau. And there's a little spot, little blue spot there, which is next to the Impakai volcano. And when you talk with, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but this is where the rivers came from. And you say, well, how can they come? This is 10,000 foot altitude right here to the left of the Impakai crater. And to the west of that, to the left in the picture, is Lake Victoria. And around this area are 49 volcanoes, some still active.
What?
And it's the hot stones of Eden. Remember, the Bible said the hot stones of Eden is where he's going to throw Satan. The hot stones is caused by the volcanic activity all around the Garden of Eden. Now, those heated springs underneath from Lake Victoria to the left, a huge amount of water, which I suspect from what I can see, was once a large comet snowball that hit and formed that lake and put all that water there. It's a huge amount. You can see the impact ridges around the image.
Which lake are you talking about?
Lake Victoria. Lake
Oh,
Victoria.
okay.
Now, okay, so I looked, in Google Earth. I thought, well, now, is there a place there, up near the top where we're looking at near Impakai crater? Is there a place that, would cause the rivers to flow out? And I'm looking for, here it is. Sorry, I can't see big pictures.
Okay.
I found this in Google Earth. There is a zone that has water in it up at the very top. To the left here, you can't see it. It's the edge of the Impakai crater. And that little area there is 20 acres in volume at the moment, 20 acres in area. And I did a lot of tests, with contour lines in Google Earth. And I found a rather square or rectangular looking shape in that area that was man-made, or it looked man-made. And that could have been done by, Germans who were there during World War II. It could have been done by, natives that were getting it to feed their herds up there, the cattle. So I had to go up there and see what was at that level, what was making those contour lines that were rectangular.
So
now I couldn't, sorry, go on.
So you saw that on Google Earth and you said, I gotta go there.
Yeah.
And so you went, okay.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Well,
so what was it?
I had two friends that over east that have a jewelry shop, and they're Christian folks, and they're very interested in it. They said, look, you've got to go over there and film this. We'll go with you. We'll pay for the expedition.
Cool.
So that was Jared and Christina Gretchen. I said, well, look, I'm too old to go do all that kind of romping around at 10,000 foot altitude and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, you got to go. So I finally said, okay, I'm going to go. And we flew over there to see this, firsthand. And when we got there, we landed at the airport there at not Mohenjo-daro, but Mount Kilimanjaro Airport, and we landed there at night, and we're taken over to our temporary hotel there, about 60 miles away. And the next morning, we got up with our tour people, and
hold on,
we drove
up real quick. Kilimanjaro, is that
Yeah.
near where you were talking about?
Yeah, Kilimanjaro. Let me see.
Because I talked to a man that actually hiked up Kilimanjaro.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can.
So that's near the rectangle shape, mysterious shape that you were looking for.
Yeah. Let me see if I've got it in that picture there. Kilimanjaro. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Now, how do I get that to you? He said. Okay. I'm going to share this screen again with you here, and I'll show you that. Say I'm going to share it. Where's your share thing here? Right. Okay. Now.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, we landed here at the airport, Kilimanjaro Airport, and that's in the ancient tongue. It was called the Mountain of Light. It had a volcano here on the left and a volcano here on the right. They were smaller, and the one in the center, Kilimanjaro, was the Mountain of Light.
Cool.
Which plays into the Genesis account where it said when God kicked Adam and Eve out of the garden, he put, you know, an angel or a fiery angel and a sword there to keep people from coming in, you know, an angel to guard the way. But when you look at the actual Hebrew, it's like, it's a different word than angel. It's a spiraling heat, like a sword of heat. And this is
Yeah.
what comes out of this mountain, this volcanic heat. And
Oh,
it
snap.
was in the ancient Hebrew that we found that. So then we traveled, you know, as I said, over to Arusha, stayed the night there. Then we traveled all the way across here and then up to the edge of the Ngoro crater, which is the actual Garden of Eden where Adam and Eve were put down. And then you go up the edge of the crater all the way up to the top where that mystery structure was, you know, that rectangular structure.
Yep.
And that's where, let me see if we can see a little bit of it here. You can start to see the grooves cut in the side of the plateau. You know,
Why did you think it was the Nazis?
Oh, because the Nazis did come in there. They occupied Tanzania for a while, and they did go into the Garden of Eden and probably hunted some rhinoceros and things during the war.
Do you think that they were trying to do some occult stuff over there that maybe Hitler knew or had an idea? Because I know Hitler was into the cult.
You know, I never thought of that, Elijah. It was, I suppose it could have been because he went to everywhere on the planet looking for stuff in the occult.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to.
Is it like okay? I'm just gonna ask you questions while you're clicking away. Is there a consensus that that's probably most likely the Garden of Eden?
Oh, in Africa, yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're saying it's Africa's last Garden of Eden, and ABC even went over there with a film crew and filmed it with drones and stuff. After I made the, you know, the announcement, and I notified all the news agencies,
that's cool.
But none of them responded. Now, what we're looking at here is 10,000 foot altitude. Here's my guide fellow with me carrying my pack because I got tired.
Right.
And here are a couple of Maasai walking down the hill to get their water. Now, this is one of two places where there was water. And this top place here is about 20 acres. The springs that shot up to form the great rivers still ooze up water for the tribes here to drink all around the crater. They come in with their cattle in the evening. And
so that's fresh water just shooting out the ground.
Oh, you bet. You bet.
Wow. Yeah. And then it just from there, it just overflows out of the crater into. So you said that the river started there, but I don't see any rivers actually coming out of there. You know what I mean? Is that because of time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is, yeah, probably 8,000 years ago, depending on how you read the dating in Genesis. You know, it blew all the water out that it was going to blow out.
Oh, okay. I see.
Okay. Now I'm just going to, where is that here?
Do you think there's something mystical or metaphysical that goes on there? Like, did you get a weird vibe or a presence when you were there?
No, just normal stuff. Huh. Here's that area where I contoured that area where you're seeing the water right in the middle of that square there, that empty square. That was the contours that formed that square that eventually opened out into this lake area you see here now. And in that picture I just showed you, we were standing about where the little red line kinks right there. You can see that's where we were standing in that picture. This picture here.
Yeah.
Now
it looks pretty beautiful. I mean, I don't see a lot of wildlife, but
yeah, no. Well, you'll see. Actually, in what we did in the documentary, you see cattle. They bring the herds in over here to the right of the picture.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, we saw them, and then they take them home.
That looks like a pretty long trek to go from outside of that big crater into the crater.
And you know, these guys right here shared it with us the morning that we discovered it. This is inside the Garden of Eden with the daisies of Africa, African daisies here.
Wow. Is the crater that big? Is that the crater going up all the way to the side of the back of the picture? 2,000
foot wall up there.
Holy.
That's why the animals didn't get down to there, and Adam and Eve stayed there because, you know, this is where they were meant to be for the time being.
Wow. That's pretty beautiful.
Well, what you see is the south end of the crater. And this water here is kind of a salt water pond now. It's had no real fresh water, or not much in a long time. They're two still rivers that kind of come from the upper part of the plateau we were just on. and they still put water down into the trees. And what you see behind us here,
Yeah.
that is a forest. It's called the Lengai Forest. And
So those
you know,
elephants don't leave that area; they just stay in
no.
that area.
Yeah, they stay. And
Wow.
there's, there are like zebras and lions here, and there's even the black rhino here, which is a protected species hiding in the garden. There's the zebras, and there's the
Wow.
lions, and they all walk around with each other. And the lions usually only attack, the weak animals of a herd that are old and falling down. The herds don't mind them being there. Believe it or not, they tolerate each other. It's a strange place, and well, when we were there, we got close enough to reach out and just darn near touch the lions. Here's one of them.
No
here.
way.
Yeah.
That's a wild lion.
Yep.
And y'all are getting close to it.
Yep. Yeah. And this is in the Garden of Eden. I mean, that's just cool,
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
So what do you
okay.
think that means? What does that mean that y'all found it? Like, it just seems so significant, but in the same way, it's like, I don't know, just there it is, like, I guess.
Well, people wanted to know whether the Bible was true or not. And, what I set out to do here was I've got these clues, I can solve this. I want to prove to doubters that the Bible is real and it's a historical document, and the Garden of Eden did exist and does exist today, even though it's not in the,
In the shape it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's spoiled now. It was destroyed. And so I wanted to prove that. And of course, that led to other discoveries. But yeah, that's why I did it, was to defend the Bible and say, look, okay, here's the Garden of Eden, and to prove it by what's in the Bible in the ancient Hebrew, so that people understood. Now, while we're on that subject, the Bible talks about the Garden of Eden and the two trees, knowledge and life, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I thought, are we going to find those trees there? No, of course not. They're probably gone. But what you see here in this picture I'm going to share with you here is Engatati Hill, which is in the in the volcano there, in the old crater. And the river and the elephants that we were just looking at over to the left of the picture. But this is a hill, which I suspect was the original top of this volcano before it collapsed. And but this hill here was when Adam and Eve were there, I'm pretty sure. Now, we went up this hill, up this path on the side here. And one of the things we noticed was, see how in the side of the hill, there's trees growing out?
Yeah, it looks weird.
They do that all the way around that hill. Those trees are fig trees. Fig trees.
Are they out of place?
No, they're there, and they've been growing there for generations, off and on through this sediment here. Up on the top, there are two areas which could have housed two trees, if you wish. We looked at that and found that there were two mounds. Say again?
Are there a lot of other fig trees in that crater?
There are along the river coming down toward it from the upper layers of the north part of the rim. And there are lots of fig trees.
Yeah.
So, but when you stand here on this hill and look out, you can see the whole crater floor, forever and ever out there.
Do you got a picture of that?
Let's see here.
So,
okay, just a second. I'll put that up for you here. I'm just pulling it down now.
So you said that was a volcano?
Yep. Yeah. Thousands of years ago, it collapsed and it formed this very fertile crater bottom. All the stuff in the volcano eroded and formed very fertile soil.
And what did you say? I'm sorry. Oh, I see it. But what did you say before, like in the beginning, that it was the only volcano that had a crater?
It's the only volcano that's collapsed that still has the walls intact, even today.
What happens to a volcano that collapses? It just flattens out?
It breaks and the walls collapse and it gets eroded.
Oh, okay.
You'll see them around the planet in various places, but this is the only one. And it's at the north part of this plateau, just out of the crater, but up on the plateau. At the edge of the plateau is a place called the Mountain of God, Oldoino in the local language. And that is a natron volcano, which puts out, well, natron, but anyway, it's a low temperature volcano that puts out magma at about half the temperature of normal erupting volcanoes. And it is the only erupting natron volcano that still survives to this day. And as the locals say, that's the mountain of God. And the local Maasai that we visited with said, this valley, this crater here, sorry, is where God came down and built man and put him out into the world. And then God went back up into the sky. Now, I'm telling you, that's what the natives say. We visited with them. And they've been there thousands of years.
Wow. So the crater, so the volcano exploded before man was made, right? And then it settled.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then
it
it
was
settled.
like God set it up.
Right.
And it settled. And, you know, yeah, while we were there, we asked one of the rangers that had been assigned to us, because they give us an armed ranger to take us around the joint to keep us safe. And I talked to him and I said, you know, these two mounds here, these two raised areas on top of the hill, there's a river between that used to flow here. Water used to come up here too. And he said, yeah. He said, it's funny that you should mention that. He said, we've been doing research here, Tanzania has, on these mounds, these two mounds, because they are so fertile that things really grow tall here. And we've been taking samples of the dirt here, and you can't see it in this photo, but that little green mound was one part of the stuff they were digging up on the other mound to see why it is so fertile, why things grow here so bountiful. It's a really fertile spot in Tanzania, or in Africa for that matter. And to me, that fits in with, you know, the life, you know, the tree of life and the tree of wisdom, whatever, all that being there, they would have been very well fertilized. Now, we were looking here in this picture, off of standing on that hill where it was.
Yeah.
I looked out into the floor of the crater, and way out in the distance where those clouds are, that's the top rim of the volcano, or of the Garden of Eden, right? The Ngoro crater.
Oh, okay.
And we're looking across 10 miles to that direction.
Yeah.
And 10 miles left and right. That's 100 square miles of garden to walk around in. Now, I reasoned, by the way, these are fig trees here that we're looking at over the side of Ngatahi Hill. I reasoned that God told Adam and Eve, here is the tree of life and, you know, the tree of wisdom. Do not eat of this fruit. And now they had to be set apart from the other trees so that, you know, Adam and Eve wouldn't, you know, accidentally eat the fruit. Now, all the way out in here, things used to grow like trees and bushes, and they still grow out here in the Lingai forest at the back. But anywhere they stood out here in this 100 square miles, they could look up and see Ngatahi Hill and the two trees. So they knew they had to climb that hill and make an effort to get to it. There was no question. You know, they did this on purpose. They didn't accidentally eat a tree. And that's where Satan deceived Eve. And we did have a kind of a cool moment standing there, realizing we're standing where Eve caused us all to fall. You know, this is where it happened. This is where it all began.
Just looking at that picture is like mesmerizing me. I'm like thinking about the same thing, like, whoa, is that really where it started?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a crazy picture. I don't know why that picture, it doesn't look like much, but at the same time, it looks profound and amazing, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird.
This picture here was, you know, we did movies of all this, but this is still on the road over the north end of the crater to go down into the Garden of Eden. Red dirt. Notice the red dirt. Man was made from the red earth. That's it. It is there in abundance. And
really?
Those are acacia trees and stuff in the background there. See those trees up there? Those are acacias. The Ark of the Covenant was made from. Now, or that kind of wood, right? And these trees lined the road going down the crater wall down into the Garden of Eden. It's like the long driveway to Adam and Eve's house, you know, just it was a freaky feeling. It's just wonderful.
I believe you, dude. I believe it. I really do. Because, I mean, how many times does there have to be historical and archaeological and geological evidence about the Bible? There's so much. It's just mind-blowing. You
Yeah.
know, it's crazy.
And where we stayed there, we got a special rate because we were doing a documentary and everything, and it was off season for tourists and stuff. So they let us have this room, or the rooms that we had, for like not too expensive. Looking out my window there, that's the Garden of Eden crater below
Oh,
my hotel room. And I gotta tell you,
wow.
I'd get up in the mornings and I'd look at that,
That's
and that
unbelievable.
was, oh, you want to stand at your window and just take it in. This is
That's
the
like you
Garden
can
of
like
Eden.
see the power of God just like looking at that crater. It's like, whoa, that's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. You understand, and
And and
you
and
know,
I fear I cannot believe that people could look at that and be like, eh, it made itself. No big deal. Just the atheists and the agnostics and stuff, and they just kind of look at that and they don't see. I guess they got the veil pulled over their eyes. They don't witness the glory of it. It's just beautiful, extremely beautiful.
yeah, yeah, it is. And you know, even when we were having our meals, this is inside the
Wow.
restaurant there. We looked out over the rest of the Garden of Eden, and over here it's the Ingatati Hill. I was telling you where Adam and Eve stood there, where the trees are right there. And we looked out over this, for breakfast and then for dinner, because during the day we packed a picnic lunch and went out to wherever we were going within 100 miles. But what a place!
I
What
know
a
that's
wonderful
amazing.
place!
For
This is
viewers, I mean, you gotta see the YouTube video because these pictures are stunning. It's just like a huge, gigantic crater, but the crater's like full of life.
yeah, yeah. It
Does that
is.
happen a lot, like with craters full of
No,
life like that?
no, no, because some of them are, some are
Yeah.
fertile like that. But yeah, I mean, they've got vegetation growing in them, but this one is unique in that it hasn't overgrown. I think in South America you can see some of the old Mayan and Olmec type structures. They were near old craters.
Hmm.
Some craters fill in with water, like in the Gulf of Mexico, where the Chicxulub meteor hit. But um,
The Gulf of Mexico is a crater?
yeah, it's a huge
What?
crater. It was formed by an asteroid that hit on the Yucatan Peninsula and headed in toward Texas.
You're
In fact,
kidding.
today they've been excavating. Oh no, they've been excavating those little glass beads, those tektites that form when a large asteroid hits, up in Oklahoma and Texas from that impact there in the Gulf of
Wow.
Mexico.
Did it take a
So
chunk out of it, like from where Florida is all the way to
no, it took a
Texas?
chunk. It took a chunk out of the Yucatan Peninsula and kind of formed a fan, and the right hand part of that fan hit the northern part of Florida. I forget what they call that up there, that little dog lake.
Yeah.
But from there over to Texas, and it threw it in this huge spray.
I
It's not the
live
biggest.
I
Sorry.
live on the Gulf of Mexico. I live right next to the Gulf of Mexico. I live in
Oh yeah.
Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm like
My grandfather and my father, they all lived there and stuff. My uncles
in
in the
Corpus?
past. Yeah, in Corpus. Yeah, I
Oh,
spent a lot
really?
of time. Yeah, I went out to Padre Island with Granddad fishing and all kinds of stuff.
Crazy. It's a small world, I guess.
It is. It is. I love it there. It's
It's
well,
nice,
it
man.
used to be. I don't know how it is nowadays,
No,
but
it's great. It's still a small town. I mean, we got some stuff, but it's not overpopulated or nothing.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I have fond memories of Corpus. Fond memories.
How did I
And
not know that that was a crater? It's
well,
just
don't know. I'm just
I,
trying to.
I've been obsessed with space for a good while now, a part of my life.
Yeah.
And just hearing all this stuff about geological stuff is like blowing my mind right now. And I'm starting to
Well,
think maybe I should look more into that.
it's your choice, but as a Christian, I found this fascinating that I could find these ancient places and prove that there was fact behind the myth and the legends that are, like
Mhm.
Atlantis and stuff like that. After I found the Garden of Eden, I was able to use Genesis and also Book of Jubilees and Enoch to find where Atlantis was and is today. You can still walk over the top of it anyway. A lot of it's still got sand and junk on it, but it's alive and well today.
Atlantis.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
is Atlantis?
Where is Atlantis? Well, if you're looking at the picture behind me, This is Atlantis. In my background here, you can see Atlantis, the word.
Hmm.
And it's the map is turned upside down because I wanted to show the length and breadth of Atlantis, but it's all of the Saudi Arabian peninsula. Now today, Saudi Arabia connects with Turkey. You know that there's land there connecting them, but that was after the asteroid hit in the Indian Ocean and dropped the left side of this, or you know, that like the southeast part of Saudi Arabia. It dropped it over 1,650 feet, nearly. In one place there was 2 miles of seabed on the top of Saudi Arabia, and I've had this verified. The oil
Wow.
companies told me about it. They were looking for the asteroid that I found. Now that was Atlantis. Now Atlantis, you can see the Jordan River in the top right hand part of the picture there. That's connected to the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. You know, Aden.
Hmm.
Even in the Arab, you know, the Islamic legends in Saudi Arabia, they say that the Gulf of Aden was the Gulf of Eden, and they thought that the volcano there, just off the shore of Yemen, was the volcano that was the Garden of Eden. So, and they thought that's where, you know, people were buried, like Adam and stuff like that, were buried there in that volcano. But the legend talked about the volcano, but they didn't go across the water. You know, if I can do that, across the water here. When there was a land bridge, they went across and up into Tanzania, which was the crater that was the original. So they used a like a representative crater there in Yemen to represent the Garden of Eden. And they think that even Cain and Abel, at least Abel, is buried there as well as Adam. That's their legends. And they have, let me see here, they have Eve being buried up here near Mecca somewhere.
What do you
in a
mean?
tomb.
Like they have like a gravestone for her?
Yeah, a building.
What?
Yeah.
The Muslims do?
Yeah. Look, we share a lot of the same things. They believe in the Garden of Eden, and
Yeah.
they are descended from Abraham.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in a kind of bad way, but anyway, they did come from there. And so a lot of these legends and stuff came through the Arabic documents. I read a lot of those too, to gather the information I needed about Atlantis. Now, Atlantis is kind of a really, really, really neat place here. Let me.
Is Atlantis underwater? Is that a picture of a topographical of under the water, or is that
No,
now?
that's Saudi Arabia today. It's up above the ground.
Well,
Look,
everyone says Atlantis got flooded.
it did. It certainly did. It got flooded, but when the planet expanded, the water receded. So it was before the
Oh,
impact, and it broke up and expanded our diameter of our planet. You know, in the flood thing that was formed, that's what destroyed Atlantis, was the flood, which they don't tell you in the Hebrew what caused the flood, just that God caused it to rain, you know, and to swell from the fountains of the deep. Water came up from the ocean, and it was hot water, by the way, from the Moho
massive
discontinuity.
meteor.
Well, meteor, of course, but even today there is a hot water zone underneath the crust of the earth. It's called the Moho discontinuity.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, real quick. Let me get this right. So Atlantis was a place, and people lived there, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's stuff a legend. And then and what year was that? You would say people were actually living there?
Before, I'd say before 3000 BC, maybe before 6000 BC.
Really?
Yeah.
And then oh,
yeah,
sorry, and then the boom, the meteor hit, and then it stretched the earth out, and it came back up.
Well, the water receded. I mean, I'm going to show you here a picture while I'm talking to you about this, of Atlantis, in Saudi Arabia today, obviously. And let's look at this here. Okay, now there it is, the right way up north, being north and that kind of stuff. This area here, which is all green and kind of, you know, like low altitude, that area there was covered with debris from an asteroid that hit right down here where Sri Lanka used to be before the asteroid hit.
What's Sri Lanka?
Well, Sri Lanka is up here now, but now down here is where it was before. See all this how India is pushed up to make the mountains of the Himalayas? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. what happened was India, look at the mud map in the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, I
India
need a
is,
timeline here because I'm getting confused. Kind of explain that one to me, because I'm getting like I get it, but you're saying like this is there and that was there. It's confusing because I see water there, right? The Sri
well, this
Lanka
is
is there.
water.
Yeah, but how is there a city there?
This
It
is
flooded.
Atlantis. This is Atlantis, and the city, the capital of Atlantis was Poseidon's Island, and that was what's called the island of Dammam today, and it's above the water right here.
Yeah. What is
I'll
Sri
show.
Lanka though?
Well,
See,
Sri
is it?
Lanka is what I'm showing you in Sri Lanka. The reason I'm doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's what's freaking me out. It says Sri Lanka circa 2350 BC.
That was before the impact of the meteor.
Oh
There's
my
this
god.
meteor is called, I call it the Kutapa crater. It left a hole in the side of India here, which I've been working with geologists in the Australian University about tracking the location of that impact, because they found glass beads in Australia from the impact when the
Holy,
Earth was all together. But now I want you to look at something here. Look in the bottom of the ocean here, where I'm tracing with my
I see
cursor.
it.
That used to be where Sri Lanka was down here. All this got splashed up so bad by the impact of the crater here that
Uh-huh.
it shoved India up into China, what is China today. And you see all the wrinkles in the soil.
Oh, it's smashed together.
You see, this is why they found seabed fossils in the top of the Himalayas.
Oh, wow.
It all comes together, Elijah. It all comes together.
Because there was water in between the Himalayas, and then it smashed the continent and it pushed it up and it mashed
Yeah.
together and it formed the Himalayas.
Yep.
That's incredible.
It really is. A seabed showed up there. Over here in Oman, here on the tip of Saudi Arabia, I was telling about this, discovery on some show, and after the show was over, I got a Zoom connect from a guy on a laptop in not in China, but in the middle of the desert there. What's it starts with a M.
Malaysia.
No, it's up northwest of China.
Oh.
It's part of, huge place where the Raiders were. Anyway, let me see if I can see it on this map here.
The Raiders.
Yeah,
What
here's China,
Raiders?
somewhere up in here. Anyway, he was in the middle of this desert there, and on his laptop, and he said, "Look, I just want to tell you, I'm an oil company, exploring guy for getting new oil wells, and I was here checking for some oil wells, and he said, I heard about that meteor, and you said it threw, like seabed stuff back over onto Oman on the southeastern part of Saudi Arabia." And he said, we found 2 miles, evidence of 2 miles of seabed that had been thrown back onto Oman and then gradually over the years washed down into the floor of the ocean. We could never find the asteroid that did it, but you found it, and we can now, verify it. And he was in Mongolia. That's where it was, in Mongolia.
Mongolia.
And I mean, in the middle of the Mongolian desert, this
They
petroleum
found that.
engineer contacts you on Zoom and says, "Hey, just heard your show," and you're thinking, "Goodness gracious!"
Oh, so
yeah,
he
sorry,
was
what?
he was looking for it, and that's where it says now, right there on your screen. That's where you're saying it hit, and it went all the way to Mongolia.
No,
I'm
it
sorry.
shoved this up here. He was in Mongolia. The engineer
Right.
that rang me was in Mongolia.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can find what you really want to know is about.
This is blowing my mind right now. Like I didn't realize how many meteors hit the Earth, and it just like started pushing all the land and smashing stuff down. And now it makes me wonder, how come we haven't got hit again?
Well, time's coming. Time's coming. Now, I want you to look at this. This is a map that was formed by, I guess NASA was in charge of it. And they did a survey of the entire planet, showing the altitude, even of the oceans, the whole surface of the planet was analyzed. Now, this low pink area is a dirty big dent in the surface of the Earth. And this red rise over here is a big rise in the surface of the Earth over New Guinea. Now, here is Saudi Arabia, here, Atlantis. There's where the asteroid hit that shoved India up into what is now China. Do you see that it scooped out 650, square miles?
Yeah, looks huge. Yeah,
and
it looks
shoved
huge.
it under. Australia used to be over here against, over here against there. It was thrown all the way down to here, and the Philippines and the islands here, they all used to be bent around here and connected not far from the coast of India. But all that was shoved over as this moved underneath the crust and shoved everything over. Isn't that
How is
incredible?
that? How is that possible?
It was a low angle asteroid. It hit at about 32 degrees altitude. I was able to determine that.
Oh, okay, so it didn't hit it dead on. It kind of hit it in an angle.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay, so this is kind of analogy I would imagine. You got a muddy ground with puddles and stuff, and you step into the mud, and it pushes down on the mud, and it lifts up around your foot on the other side.
Yeah.
Would that be kind of a close analogy?
Close, but this is like a big ball coming in and just shoving everything ahead of it. Yeah,
I know. But what's freaking me out is like say Australia, it's not floating in the water. It's land, right? And it's like almost like a mountain. So how does it push it over? I guess you could smash down on it and it kind of pushes it over or something.
If you're traveling that fast with an asteroid that's 15 miles in diameter, you're lucky it didn't destroy the planet. remember when they were talking about, okay, it rained and there was a rainbow and there were clouds for the first time because Noah said, oh, God put, okay. The reason it rained was because as this asteroid came down and boiled up the seas, it boiled them up into the stratosphere and cooled them. And it started to rain from the evaporated sea that was boiled by this impact. It was so huge. We're talking huge here, huge. This is the biggest thing to hit the planet that we know of.
Okay, so when the Earth flooded, that's the angles of the meters it hit, huh?
Yeah, right here.
Crazy.
Right here. Yeah.
Wow.
This one that hit India came down like that, and that's where Australia is down there.
Why does it show like an arrow through it? It shows like an arrow.
The angle of impact.
And then it shows like a blank spot, and then it shows like the head of the arrow.
Yeah, because it went under the sea. It went under the seabed.
What?
Look, our crust on our Earth floats on a layer of very soft rock, which they call the bearing, B-E-R-A-I-N-G, like water bearings, but it's rock bearings that the whole crust of the Earth floats on. And so when this asteroid hit, it didn't turn the whole planet upside down, which it did. It did turn the crust upside down, but it's a thin crust. And when these things hit, the energy they had was enough to flip the Earth about 150 degrees from where it was then, which is why they couldn't find Atlantis, because everybody's saying that it was through the Pillars of Hercules from Greece going west. Well, Greece was upside down, nearly totally upside down when the asteroid hit. So before that, east was west, west was east, and the Pillars of Hercules are there in Turkey. This is why they could never find the evidence of the society. I found stuff all over Saudi Arabia that tells you about the ancient people that lived there.
You're breaking my brain right now.
Hey?
You're breaking my brain right now.
Oh, sorry.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. No, it's amazing. I can't believe this.
Let me see if I can find the island here. Yes, okay. Here's an interesting
crazy
thing. Okay, now remember in the legends, that of Atlantis, Plato said, look, there were two water sources, hot and cold water, that Poseidon brought up into his castle for his wife Cleito on the island of Damam. Here is a cross-sectional area, image of the Damam island, up here is the above water level. Here is meteoric ground river. Here is that one from there. There are two sources of groundwater coming up under that island, and one of them was hot from the Persian Gulf. There's still some of them there today. Hot water, cold water coming up to do his castle.
Wow. Okay, so that little underground river means that a meteor shot like those angles that you were showing me. It went under the ground, and then it popped out from another side. Yeah, like the one with the arrows.
Look at this. There you are. There's where Australia used to be.
This is crazy.
I know it is crazy.
It's crazy.
Well, you know the legend of Lemuria?
No, never heard of it.
Never heard? Oh well.
Tell me.
Anyway, in the occult circles, and so they talk about the ancient island or continent of Lemuria and Atlantis.
Yeah.
Lemuria in the 19th century, in 1800s, there was a biologist who said, and this is where the term or the land of Lemuria came from. he was trying to find out, and if you look at this graph here, this is Madagascar. That's
Oh, okay.
that's the home of lemurs. Any lemur in Asia today came from Madagascar. How did they get across the mountains, or the water rather, to the mountains?
Oh, I don't
Nobody
know.
could figure out. So he said there must have been a landmass here that sank, that connected Madagascar to Asia, but it wasn't. This here is the landmass right here. This was all snuggled up
Oh,
together. And the lemurs came through India, which was up right here. They joined together on the west coast of India. And they came across land bridges to all of these Indonesian islands. You can see in the gray area that it's only slightly submerged, but there was a continent there.
yeah.
And
The
so the
black is
lemurs,
the black is the ground, and the gray is the underwater that
yeah,
used to be land.
yeah, yeah. So, and this impact shoved Hawaii clear over to where it is up here in the upper right part of this. Let's see if we can see it. No, we can't. But that's why lemurs are found on Hawaii as well, because they were originally part of this whole group here.
So they were already on there, and then the meteor hits, and then it just shifts them all the way.
Yeah, and if you look at this area right here at the tip of the arrow, that is where the asteroid came to a stop, still shoving stuff underneath it to come up underneath New Guinea and Australia here. But that is the area today where the crater, the head of it is. You can see it there if you get onto your Google Earth and go down. Okay.
Oh wow, man, this is a lot.
That's called the Banda Sea, and this is that area blown up, so you can see it. There's where the head of the asteroid stopped, shoving.
Shoot. That's what I was gonna say. That looks like an aerial, a meteor like came to a dead halt.
Yeah,
like it just.
I mean, you don't have to be a PhD to see this. This is right.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
What in the world? Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like a meteor freaking tore through the ground, and eventually lost momentum and stopped. Wow.
Yes.
That one picture freaks me out. The one where you said about Oh, go ahead. No, I want to hear more. Go ahead.
Okay. Now this is where the capital, the Poseidon's Island was at the time. I've measured out the distances by Plato's accounts, and this is Dammam Island, and it's now joined to Saudi Arabia's coast, because of the sand and mud and stuff that came from the impact. But today, this is where Aramco has the oil tankers, the oil tanks and tankers and oil wells. They are burning oil from, the Atlanteans that lived in that area, who were buried under all this and became oil. You have to have plant matter and human blood matter to make oil. And
human blood?
Well, hematin, like you find in blood, and chromatin from like chlorophyll.
Oh.
So this is shallow wells here, and this is where the first oil well was made in the Middle East, and that's of course where all the wealth comes from. Still pulling wealth from what was Atlantis. This whole thing here in the circle was Poseidon's Island.
What is Poseidon's Island? Like in
the legend, there were 12 sons of God that were cast down to earth. Now the Bible's Book of Jubilees, I think is the one that says there's 200 angels that were cast down to earth, and they divided the earth amongst themselves. The one that we have existing records for that we can read is Atlantis. And his name was Poseidon by the Greeks, the god Poseidon. Probably what you don't know is that Greece, after the flood, obviously a long time after the flood, when Greece was forming, they had demigods, gods like, Hercules and, Poseidon and all these guys. Right?
Yeah.
And where they found them, where they placed them was not in Greece. It was on the west coast of the Levant, where Israel and Lebanon are today. And they built cities over there to worship these gods. Like I've been in one of them, but there are at least 10. They call them the Decapolis, or the 10 cities Greece built to honor their gods. Hercules, he lived in that area there, probably in the Lebanon mountains. All these things the Greek legends talk about happened there. The giants happened there. Even the Bible says they were there in the Golan Heights and in northern Jordan. That's why these giants were products of the crossbreeding.
The nephilim and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and these all lived in the western, kind of northwestern side of Saudi Arabia and Israel. Now that's why God, some of them escaped the flood. It cleaned up most of these hybrid beings, but some of them survived. And that's why you had the tribes of the giants, the Rephaim, and the Zamzumim, and You have the tribe of Og, king of Og. His bed was 18 feet long. And that's why Joshua was told, take your troops, go into the new land of Canaan there to make it Israel. Go in there and attack this village and that village, which have the giants. Kill every living thing, their animals, children, adults, everything, kill it. It's all contaminated with this crossbreeding. That's why he had to kill them. That's the mystery. Get rid of, finish my cleanup. And that's why they were afraid to go into Israel, into the land of Canaan. When Moses took them across, they said, oh no, they sent spies out. I think Joshua was one of them. They came back with large grapes and stories about guys that were 12 feet tall that they didn't want to fight them. They were afraid. So they were there, 40 years, before Israel finished the Exodus and walked in, into northern Israel. These things all make so much sense.
It does.
Elijah, you put them together and your mind just kind of starts to explode.
Dude, it's all making sense now. It's all making sense.
I hope
you're
so.
Putting, because you're putting the things that I kind of knew about into a timeline and into logical sense and into historical sense. And that makes perfect sense to me. And you said something about 200 angels coming down and separating.
Yeah, well, in Plato's account there were 12, and they each took a portion of the earth for themselves. So we only have surviving records of Poseidon and Atlantis, and possibly from the Olmec and Mayan records that the snake god that they had over there was one of the fallen ones that landed in South America and helped them with the technology to build all the pyramids and various other things.
Now you're talking.
Oh, so, let me tell you something. Else. You were asking me about the Chicxulub meteor that hit in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes.
You've heard of the Yucatan Peninsula?
Yes, I don't know much about it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. Well, I started asking them, why do you call yourselves Yucatan? The peninsula. Why is it Yucatan? Mm-hmm. Oh no, it's always been called Yucatan. When I put the Earth back together again, on the map.
Yeah, right.
Northwest Egypt connected to what is now the Gulf of Mexico, in that area. It connected. Now, if you look at the descendants of Noah, you'll find that you go down to one that's called Joktan in English, Joktan. His real name in Hebrew is Yucatan. He settled the Yucatan northern South America peninsula. Yucatan was from one of the descendants of Noah. Let me see if I've got that graph in here.
So they were in South Africa. I mean, South America.
Yep. They came over.
So, man, all this destruction from meteors, and I guess
Here we go. Let me just share this with you. Well, where's the share screen? Okay. Now, this is where Joktan or Yucatan is properly pronounced. There, it connected to Africa on the west coast, right there. When all the continents were put back together again before they split up, this is where everything was. India was next to Madagascar here. Crazy. Australia was over here on the east side of Indian Peninsula. These are the descendants of Noah. Shem, Ham, Japheth. I mean, this has got to blow your mind. This has got to blow your mind. If it doesn't, there's something wrong with you.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to put this together. The earth was together when Noah was alive.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now I get it. Okay, that's crazy.
And the world had become corrupt. The
complete crazy.
Corrupt. Say again.
That's completely crazy. I did not know that. I never knew that. So now it makes even more sense, because then you're like, hey, how'd they travel across the sea? Well, there was no traveling across the sea. It was all connected.
Yep.
And so it got bombarded with asteroids left and right, I guess, throughout different times in history, and it just started to break them apart.
Yeah, it did.
What about dinosaurs? What do you think happened to them?
Dinosaurs were probably killed in several asteroid impacts. I'd say Chicxulub certainly killed a lot of them in North America. This one would have killed those over in Asia, perhaps. But yeah, they didn't survive all these things. They didn't come at once. They were, coming in different ages. I'm just trying to
Were
see
there
if I,
humans around when dinosaurs were around?
yeah, there were. In
Really?
Mexico, or sorry, not Mexico, in South America, they have little carvings, toys and stuff that were made for children, which showed children playing with dinosaurs, long-necked dinosaurs.
No way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And,
Wow.
you know, here's a picture here of the Dead Sea and the ancient cities that Greece built here. You know,
Mhm.
Scythopolis, I was in that one actually in an excavation, seeing how it was done. But there's
That's
a town
awesome.
here, near the Sea of Galilee called Gadara, Gadarius,
Mhm.
Gades. In the Greek legend, the second son of Poseidon, the ruler of Atlantis, was called Gadarius. He obtained for his lot the extremity of the island towards the Pillars of Hercules, which are up here, towards the Pillars of Hercules, facing the region or country, which is now called the region of Gades in that part of the world. Gadara is that place today. They still carry the name of
Wow.
the second son of Poseidon.
Wow.
And here is why they couldn't find the straits of the Pillars of Hercules. This is the Mediterranean. This is
Yeah.
Turkey here, and this is going over into the Levant, heading toward Lebanon. The Atlantis is back over here in the upper right part of the picture. Let me get it up there. Original Atlantis and the Persian Gulf there now. Now I filled in the water to where it was before the flood hit everybody. And the pillars, the Straits of Hercules were here, and the pillars were these two massive pillars here that you go in and you travel around to get to the entry to Atlantis. But anyway, as I said, I raised the sea level 1,650 feet to show where it was. Isn't that incredible?
Oh, for sure. It's completely incredible. It's like I didn't how it's just blowing my mind. Like, how did people not know about this stuff? Or I know people know about this stuff, but it just doesn't seem like to the normal person. It's not common knowledge, basically, is what I'm saying.
No, it's not. See, this here's a picture of a like a mosaic in Santorini on the island of the fresco there. And that whole little excavation they did, they thought that was Atlantis because it had stones of red, black, and white. And it was probably an outpost of Atlantis. They worshiped the bull, and they had what they call bull jumping on the fresco, where a guy would come and grab the horns of the bull with these long forward-facing horns, flip over the top like you see in the middle, and then land on his feet. And that was a rite of passage for the young men of Atlantis.
Wow.
Now, because they worshiped the bull and that kind of stuff. So you can see here that there's evidence in that area there in the Mediterranean that they worship the bull. And
that's in good shape. They just found that somewhere?
Yeah.
They just found that in the ground?
Well, it was in a city they excavated, Santorini, where the volcano had not destroyed everything. And they excavated this and found this. And these things here are mentioned in Plato's description of Atlantis and the court and how they worship the bull. But that came as an outrider.
All this stuff that we hear about Atlantis and Hercules and Poseidon, it's all based on pieces of history handed down, right? And it's been so. Back to what you were saying, you said something about 12 angels. So these were fallen angels.
Yes.
So okay, yes. So Poseidon was real, a real person.
Yep.
Holy crap!
And look, Elijah, I tried to find every clue that was mentioned.
I can tell
in the account of Plato, and he said he got it from his uncle. Who was the uncle? Well, anyway, I don't think it was Plato. I think it's another guy that went over, and Plato was given the information. But anyway, in Egypt, there was a stela, with carvings on it, hieroglyphics, and I think it was Solon. It was Plato's grandfather, something. Solon went over there and talked to the priest of Suez in Egypt, and they told him about the legend of Atlantis, and that was what was taken back so that Plato could relate the tale. One of the things that he talked about was that the rocks and the streets of Poseidon's Island were paved in orichalcum metal, and that you could see the red gold of these stones that were coated in this metal from far out at sea, knowing that you were coming onto Poseidon's island in Atlantis, you could see the glistening of this circle of stones covered in orichalcum. And if you look on the internet, there's a lot of questions about what was orichalcum. And I've been able to determine what it was by looking at mines in Saudi Arabia, on the west side of Saudi Arabia. There's a huge mine there that produces orichalcum as a byproduct of mining the gold in these veins.
Oh,
And it's what we call red brass today.
it looks
85%
beautiful.
copper. Yeah, it's 85% copper, as you can read there, 5% tin, 5% lead, and 5% zinc. Now, the legend says that these people eventually went crazy there, the Atlanteans, walking on streets, eating on plates made of orichalcum and whatever. And if they're 5% lead, you can see how they would get, killed by lead poisoning eventually.
Oh,
But yeah, today you can make orichalcum.
Can you buy some of that?
Yeah, you can get it. It's an alloy made now called C23000. And
That
that's the
looks
closest
so
thing you're gonna get
cool.
to orichalcum.
It's like red metal, or it's like red, almost looks like has a shine like a silver, but it's, or brass, but it's red.
It's even, like erosion proof. It doesn't rust, doesn't make copper oxide. Yeah.
Wow.
It was really, really great. And to find that mine there, just, it's called the Mad Dahab mine on the west coast of Saudi Arabia.
Do they use that stuff? Do they take it?
It's a byproduct. They get it for the copper and the iron more than anything else. There used to be gold in quartz veins and what they call rhyolites. And they're open cut mines, and you can still get these traces of this stuff there. That's where they got the orichalcum from, in the highlands of Atlantis. And I even found where the logs were carried down to the fertile plains, they called it. Let me just show you.
Oh, I got a good question for you.
Okay.
Where is the Ark of the Covenant? Stan knows.
There are a couple of places it could be. It was hidden in the time of the invasion of Israel by Babylon, by Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
And he let a prophet take it up and hide it in a hill. He sent his troops with what was the prophet's name? Was it Jeremiah? I think it was Jeremiah was the one that was allowed to take it up to the mountain. And legend has it that it was across the Jordan up into a mountain on the shores there of the Dead Sea. I think this was probably not where the actual ark was. They had a fake one to show that they'd taken it out of Israel, and so that Nebuchadnezzar wouldn't be excavating underneath the Temple Mount to find where they'd really hidden it. Remember, the Israelites were pyramid builders for the Egyptians, and they knew how to make sand hydraulics, so they could drop the floor of the Holy of Holies, by knocking out some sand blocks, clay blocks, so that the sand poured out underneath, and the whole Holy of Holies descended underneath the floor, and great stones closed in and sealed it. Wow. Now, evidence from LiDAR scanning and various other things that were done on the ground in Jerusalem at the Temple Mount area show a couple of places that could be where it is stored. Now, I went over in, when was 1983, 89. I went over into Israel, and one of the places I was investigating was underneath and behind the Wailing Wall, where there's a long channel. At that time, it had been locked off by Nimrod Novik, Shimon Peres' lapdog. They'd locked it off. I took pictures of it, but back behind there, the evidence that I'd seen from topside with the scans was that there was a room behind a 20-ton rock, which sided up to the wall behind the Wailing Wall. And there was a room there that was sealed by large rocks on each side that had not been entered by anybody for a long time. It was just, I think that's where the ark is hidden. Now, there are tales that Menelik the First, of not Ethiopia, but over near Ethiopia anyway, Eritrea, that he was a son of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. and that he took the ark. He came back later and took the real ark down to the Ethiopia area, and they hid it there. And today there is a place where one man spends his whole life guarding the Ark of the Covenant there, and nobody sees it except the guy who's the guard. Nobody's allowed in, and it might be there. I don't know that that would be so, but
I have heard of that place before. Where would your money be?
Say again?
Where would your money be at if you had to choose?
I'd still think it's somewhere in Israel.
I think so too.
In the Holy Land, they wouldn't take it that far away. And
I think you're right.
I think it's under the foundation rocks there.
Do you think it's under that room blocked by that 20-ton
it's in that room,
rock?
I think. I think it's in that room, yeah.
Do people acknowledge that there's a room there, and they're just like, well, there's a room there, we're just going to leave it alone?
Well, the Arabs won't let them dig there. That's the problem.
What?
Well, they say that you're going to be destroying or hurting the mosque of Oman and the Dome of the Rock by tunneling underneath it. We can't allow that. And
wow.
So, yeah, that's why they're not allowed up there to do much more, and not even allowed to pray on top of the Temple Mount. But that's why we can't see it, is because they're not letting us dig there. And they have opened up that tunnel where the iron bars were when I got there. But I don't know. I don't know where it is there. I actually met the real Indiana Jones, Dr. Bendel Jones. He was a friend of ours, the family. He lived in Arlington, Texas. And before I went over to Israel, I asked him about getting a map to his his excavation in the Qumran. And his excavation had been going for a couple of years, and he'd found some incense, about 600 pounds of incense that was made for the temple during the time of the Second Temple, hidden in the floor of this excavation. It was a cave at the Wadi HaKippah. And so I said to Jonesy, I said, look, can you draw me a map? I'll go over and have a look, which I did. And, I had to wait till about 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the day. And then go on a rope, swing from the side of the cave. You had to climb up a few rocks and then grab a rope that was hidden there and swing over to the mouth of the cave and drop in and walk over to the middle and look for where the sun was shining through a hole in the top of this cave. The Wadi HaKippah was next to it, the Wadi of the Kippah, the rabbis wear with on the head. So where this spot of light struck the sand, it's where I was supposed to start shoveling, sand out of the way to get to a metal plate that he'd placed there to hide the lower parallel cave entrance, which was where the priests of Zadok had been worshiping and holding their temple ceremonies there when they were in exile because of the Romans being in Jerusalem. And so I went down into there. I shone a torch, up into the inside of the cave entrance down when I got down in the lower levels. And there was a room probably 12 foot by 12 foot by about maybe 8 foot tall. And the ceiling of it was lined in these big, round, smooth Jordan River rocks. And the mortar in between them glistened like diamonds. There's crystals stuck out of it everywhere. And it was the gypsum that had leached out. But when you're in a flickering flame light, it's really kind of cool to see all these sparklies in the middle of these things. And down on the floor, there were two piles of round stones that were smaller. One was like this one here was like white stones, and this one over here was black stones. And they were piled there. And over to if you were in between the stones and looked that way to the other wall, there was candle soot and an altar there where the priests had been performing ceremonies there. And underneath where they were standing is where Jonesy dug out that part of the sand because it was soft and found these 600 pounds of incense that you couldn't make at this time because the plants didn't grow anymore. They died off several hundred years ago, like 1,000 years ago. But here they were. So he was able to turn that over to the Department of Antiquities there. So now they had the real incense that they could burn when they open up the new Solomon's Temple and when they have temple worship again, which they're going to have shortly, I'm sure. They're working on it. Anyway, just
That's crazy.
you
That
remember that scene in one of the Indiana Jones movies where Indiana Jones is running down this channel or like inside a cave and this big
yes.
stone's rolling past him. That really happened to Jonesy. And one of his diggers, we think, was the guy who went to Hollywood and gave the idea to the writers. But there was a big stone between the upper level and that lower level cave that was perched up there that he did have to dodge out of the way, which is easy to do because there was a place to dodge. But it did roll downhill like that. And Vendel and I worked after that on decoding the secrets of the copper scrolls in Jordan to see where the gold of King Solomon was hidden and where the Ark of the Covenant was hidden. That is also in that. And we were translating that using computer graphics as one of the other ways to tell what was real and what was not on the temples, on the copper scrolls. Because the engraving on the copper scrolls, some of it was, say, like that deep, and some of it was just skin deep. And so it was like the Babylonians used, if you rolled that over clay, it would only show certain things that were a certain height that would show on a clay imprint of the copper scroll. So we used graphics to see what images were fat, which were skinny, which told us which were shallow, which were deep on the copper scroll. Great time we had. Great time. I miss it.
Man, that's incredible, dude. It seems like you've led a very awesome, interesting life.
Yeah,
And
now that I look back, you're probably right.
and most people don't get to do all those incredible things, man. And that's so freaking awesome. And I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to me about all this stuff because I am utterly fascinated by basically every little thing you said today. And I'm gonna learn more about this stuff. I didn't even all this stuff that's sparking my interest wasn't even on my radar. Like I've always been, like I was saying, I've always been obsessed with space, but there's so much stuff here on this earth that is incredible. That's right here in front of us.
Yeah, and I want to give you, talking about space. Remember I told you that Atlantis was probably, Saudi Arabia, about 99% certain.
Yeah.
Here on my show images page on the chart for mysteries in Saudi Arabia, at chart 16, I did that tracing like I did in Tanzania of ground level. I found something that looked weird, right?
That does look weird.
It was out in the desert. And I thought, what is this thing? This is what I saw. And it looked like a volcano, but not exactly. You can see a ridge and a hot spot here where things kind of flowed downhill or something. But then I noticed that there was a straight edge here and a straight edge there. So I went back and I traced it. And it's like a ship, like a triangular ship. You see that? And the reactor could have been in the middle and melted down. And here you can see in the other graph where I have analyzed the length and breadth of. There's what it looks like from the top. It looks like a delta craft that's buried under the sand there.
Oh my God! Is it going downward? Like the center is going downward, right?
The center this is all parallel to the ground, right? And so the point at the top is the low point of where I stopped tracing.
Oh, it's low point.
And the high part is 280 feet tall.
Oh.
285, I guess it is.
That's in the middle of the desert?
Yep.
Can you go back to that other picture? That one, where it looks like a volcano? No, the one.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is the thing.
Oh, you've layered that on top of what the hell is that? Yeah. That's in the middle of the desert.
Yep.
What is that?
Well, it's not a volcano. It doesn't act like that. And there's this ridge around it that would indicate either a wall structure or, part of maybe a nuclear power plant that melted down in this craft. I'm firmly convinced it must be a craft because it's the shape is just too regular.
That is weird. Has anyone ever gone over there?
Not yet that I know of. Traveling in Saudi Arabia is a little bit challenging for me since I've
I would imagine.
Yeah, well, Prince Mohammed bin Salman wouldn't like me to be there, and he's the de facto ruler. I've said he's probably an antichrist or the false prophet of what's coming. But anyway, he wouldn't like.
Who is
Mohammed bin Salman, MBS?
You think he might be the Antichrist?
Oh, you need to listen to some of my shows,
dude. I do. I definitely do.
Do you have a podcast?
Well,
I have all the shows recorded there at standeyo.com. And if you go to that, let me just go to our
standeyo.com. Definitely gonna
Yeah,
go there.
just yeah, here we go. StanDeyo.com. Okay, see the page?
Yes.
And where it says recent interviews,
Uh-huh.
I think that goes back for several years, and you can click on
And it's
these and
all
catch up.
and it's all on YouTube.
No, these are all on like podcast. Well, they might
Okay.
be YouTube. Let me just click and see.
But do you have a
Yeah,
YouTube?
yeah, they're YouTube. They're YouTube. Yeah. So you'll see my interviews with Doug where I talk about all this kind of stuff, and that'll be where you want. Now, in
Great.
that website, there's a show images thing, which there's a place in there where you get to this page, and it's a place called View the Middle Eastern Mysteries in Saudi Arabia and Other Countries. And when you click on that, it takes you over to that link where we were. But I
Yeah.
want to show you something. When I was working in a classified project with Dr. Edward Teller to make flying saucers and anti-gravity.
Whoa. What?
Yeah,
You
I
were
did.
working with helping him make one?
Well, there were a lot of other people on the team. I was recruited after they'd already done a lot of work. And so
What?
gradually, well, they came to me in 1971 and recruited me to join them in Australia. And we had a base that we shared with real aliens in Saudi Arabia. On the
No, wait, hold on. What?
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Here's where our base was, on the Jabal Tuwaiq mountain range south of Riyadh.
You shared a base with aliens.
Well, our group did. I was in Australia doing my work in Melbourne and Victoria. But
So they got to see him?
Oh yeah, we did make deals with them, like the rumors say.
You're messing with me. No, dude. No. Are you serious right now?
I am.
What do they look like?
Well, there are people that look like us but are taller, fairly handsome people. I may have met one couple that were in the United Nations, yes, part of the scientific program, but the others, these gray critters, are manufactured biological robots. In essence, they're soulless beings, and they just perform tasks and abduct people and make people worried, and they do some genetic modifications in family lines for use down the road. Remember, the fallen ones were big into creating chimeras, from human DNA. And so there's going to be a moment here shortly, probably measured in months, when the world is going to be at the edge of total collapse, from economic collapse, from disease, from threat of nuclear war, maybe even a nuclear device being exploded over Iran by, or it's Damascus probably, by Israel. And the people of the earth, not the governments, but the people, are going to be demanding someone to organize the planet, get rid of the disease, get rid of the threat of asteroids, to help us get rid of the Illuminati, the bad guys that have caused all this. And we're going to cheer those of us who aren't aware of what's happening when the first team arrives with their flying saucers and say, we've been here all along. We are your creators. In fact, we can even show you holographic imagery of the crucifixion of Jesus in Jerusalem. We were there when that happened. He was one of us. Now we've got a guy here on the earth that we're going to put before you to lead you. And he will join the nations, and the Christians and Hindus and Muslims, you will all come under one global religion. There will not be any religious differences, and we will be sure everyone eats, a digital money system so that people can't steal. We can get rid of crime, and people will accept this. And Jesus did say in Matthew, watch out for those who come saying he is here or there in the secret place in the desert. There's a great deception coming, and this is it. It's finishing up now. It's been building for decades, generations. And it's going to be that these alien arrivals are, the real God and their elder brothers from space, and that we were created by them. And now Jesus says, don't fall for that. They ask you to worship a world leader and to get a mark on your right hand or your forehead, so that you can buy or sell with this digital mark. Then don't do it, because that's the bad guys. I'm coming for you. Be patient. And, to the Thessalonians, the message was, they were worried. Are we left behind? Is the rapture left behind? And the apostle said, no. Have you seen the Antichrist yet? Has he been revealed? So the church is going to be taken out of here before the Antichrist is revealed. But I'm telling you now, this is what's going to happen. I've written it out and published it in 2010 in my book, The Cause of Conspiracy, final edition. I put in there the detailed translation that I did in Hebrew and English of Daniel, telling about how this alien God that's going to help the New World Order leader, overthrow the military powers of the world. And it's there, and I've translated and explained the deception. That's the next thing on the calendar, is for people to want to get rid of their governments. And if you look around the planet now, the model for setting up a new world government was planned a long time ago and published. And it was in the spurious document that a Russian general wrote called the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. It has nothing to do with Jewish. It was disguised that way to get Hitler to get rid of the Jews. It was an effort by Satan to wipe them out. But in that book, the last thing they said was, the people of Earth will be so dissatisfied with their governments that they will cry for anyone else to come and save the planet from these, cruel, these greedy, selfish rulers of the planet, the bankers and whoever else, the Illuminati. Come help us get rid of them. And that's what is happening now. Now, the Antichrist of this age, according to the document, will have 3 close advisors, physically close advisors. At all times, one of them will be with him. So that if he strays from the plan, and it's not a good dictator of the world, they can cut his throat and kill him. So that's how they plan to set it up so that it would work. But this is Satan's deception. It is coming. It is upon us very shortly. And if I can say nothing else, this is the mystery that you've got to watch for. If you're here to see the numbering start and the man of sin, the world leader, be appointed, know that you've missed the rapture and you're going to have a hard 7 years. It's not saying that you're doomed forever, but it's going to say, don't take the mark, escape as best you can, and try to make it to the next 7 years alive and without, worshiping the beast, the Antichrist.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless, man. Dude, this is amazing. This is the best podcast I've ever done.
Really?
You're blowing my mind, dude. And I'm believing every single word you say because it all makes perfect sense. If it didn't make sense to me, I wouldn't say it was. But yeah, dude, I've heard that's possible. My dad thinks that too, and he studied the Bible like nobody's business. And he also thinks that there could be a fake alien landing and it be tied into the Antichrist.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know your dad was from clear across the world. We come to the same conclusion.
That is unbelievable, man. That is unbelievable. So you're telling me for sure there's aliens? Yeah. Are they demons though? Because you said it was going to be like
demons are like disembodied spirits, and things that the wall separating our universe from God's universe is still intact. The one separating us from the lower levels, where hell and Tehom are, that is thinning. And in these last days, that veil will thin, and we will actually see these demonic creatures as they try to gate into our world. And some of them will make it, I'm sure, from what Revelation says.
Oh my God. So what are these aliens? Are they just, like you said, some of them are soulless, but what about the other ones? Are they part of like the Anunnaki, or are they part of some of the fallen angels that survived?
Well, yeah, look, now that's another interesting tale about how our flying saucers work. They altered the rate of time passage. Beings that were alive in the time of Christ in these craft can set the field to a field density such that they can age very, very, very slowly and age thousands of years, then change the field density and pop out where we are here, having traveled thousands of years forward in time, through the ages. But anyway, I got off of what was the question you just asked here? I got off on a tangent.
About the Anunnaki and the aliens are they?
All right, the fallen ones, the cast out from the heavens, are those who followed Satan, the third part of the angels of the heavens. And they're being cast down. They were cast down in several stages, as far as I can tell, through portals between the parallel universe where God dwells and where they were into our world. And the ziggurats in the legends that were recorded in cuneiform in the Sumerian Valley, they talk about this. In fact, I have one of the ziggurats that the Germans had, the stela is showing it. They show the construction of the top part of the ziggurat to allow the gods to pour in there from the heavens and to stay there for a few hours and to have refreshments or whatever, come down another level to another station where they could rest. And the third level was to walk down amongst the people so they could touch them. But because when they landed at first, or when they poured it in at the top, their energy density of their molecules was so great that the air burned around them. They were very energetic beings, and they had to dissipate their field until they got down. Now, Even Jesus told Mary in the garden after he was arisen, and she ran out and said, "Oh, Master, Master." He said, "Don't touch me because I'm not yet ascended." He was getting charged up to go up and meet with the Father and then come back down and deal with the apostles, the disciples. I mean,
wow, man.
Elijah, there's so
You're
much
making,
in my head. I wish I could just
dude, you were
have
like,
5 hours. You know,
you're like exploding with just, I don't even know how you acquired all this knowledge. It's unbelievable, man.
When you say your head is like exploding, spare a thought for me and for Holly when we've been discovering all this together. I mean, just there'd be times when I'd say, "Holy cow, look at this," and the hair on the back of your neck stands straight up, and you're saying, "Wow, wow." And now, of course, it's okay. I've done that, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a point where you were going through that. And I'm sure I'm triggering a lot of emotions and old memories of these amazing things you've been through.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Elijah. Absolutely. You know, about the Atlantis thing there, I've got, I'll share that page with you again. I want to show you something here. If I can find my link here. Okay, that's fine. That's not what I want. Where's your thing here? There we go. Share screen, go to there. Now, when I was looking at Atlantis, trying to find clues, I found over 1,500 artifacts out of black volcanic stone. And they look like this. It's what's called the keyhole formation. A ring, an island in the middle, and a long, straight thing. Now,
what is that? Come on, like, what is that?
That is a symbol. That is a symbol for Poseidon's island. Here's another version of it that I found. Here's a ring. Here's an island in the middle. And here is this long thing which comes out like a wedge with little joins in there.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. This is showing Poseidon's island, which, if you read the Greek account, had 3 concentric circles, land, water, guard towers all around, and then a long road that joined it to the island, or to the to Atlantis proper, to the actual landmass. And these symbols.
What the hell are those?
Well, I think that everybody was saying, look, we remember Poseidon. I'm just trying to find the grave of Poseidon and his wife. I think this is it here. Yeah. What? Here was one of the Saudi mysteries I saw. And you see how you've got one with long straight rod to the island, and one with an open rod, like for the woman and for the man. Poseidon and Cleito.
Is that a aerial shot of something?
Yep. You can get that on Google Earth.
What in the world is that?
Well, that's markers, I think, either memorializing Poseidon and Cleito by later generations, which
near Atlantis, right?
Yeah, it's Atlantis. Yeah, that's Atlantis.
Oh my God! So that's
look at this. This is a close-up of this thing. You see, there was the island with the capital, with the castle on.
Yeah.
And then the moats, the water moats. These dark lines separate that. This is one of the really good ones, showing, the symbol of Poseidon's island, Atlantis. This was the symbol of Atlantis.
That looks man-made.
It was. it was. Let me see if I can.
What is that?
What is what?
What are those little spider web looking things? Saudi Mystery 63, I think. Saudi Mystery 63, right in the middle.
That?
No, go back. It looks like a web or something, like in the ground. Like, go back up.
Here?
No, go 2 up.
Here?
1 more up.
Here.
And then to the left.
Here. Oh,
that one. What is that?
That's called a kite, a K-I-T-E. There are a number of these in the higher region of Saudi Arabia, up near the mountains, and these are made. You notice this here, where this arm comes out. They're made of rock that's stacked maybe 2 feet tall at the moment. It's a lot of it's been covered up, but this is what they think was what the surviving people of Atlantis, the tribals. They built this as a way to chase game into this enclosure here, where they had arrow stations where they would shoot the game.
Wow.
Once they trapped it inside.
That's incredible.
It can also be a fortress, because from any of these points, you can defend the other points side on to people trying to climb the wall. You've got a good angle to attack them on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are a bunch of those.
That's incredible.
There are a bunch of those out there. Let me just see. Oh, when
There's
I
a
say
bunch
look
of
at that,
those scattered around in Saudi
yeah.
Arabia.
Look at these. Look at these. You,
What?
you see,
That's
there's
not real.
1,500 of them at
That's
least.
not real. That can't be real. That's
Yeah,
real. What
yeah.
the hell? What is that?
Well, those are the markers, probably graves of people that had wanted their grave to be in the center where the island would be in the circle. And they are like honoring either Poseidon with the straight ones or Cleato with the feminine, open thing like
Oh,
that.
and that is Atlantis.
That's part of Atlantis. Yeah,
And
that was
that,
up in the high regions of. In fact, if you're looking behind me here,
yeah.
up in those regions there is where these stones were laid. Most of them are there in very black rock, volcanic rock. That's where you get it, and that's what survived all this area down here that got covered in sand.
Okay. Excuse me. If you go over there, let's say you go over to that place, that black, the one you just showed me with
Yeah.
the weird. Those are how tall are those rock stacks? The one that one you just showed me with where they're all over the place.
Yeah, they're approximately 2 feet tall. Let me see if I've got any lateral versions of that there. I do have in my other part of my computer, but don't see that. I found a lot of Saudi missile bases and junk like that while I was looking at this. I went over so many square feet.
I can imagine.
Saudi Arabia, and I even found some hidden areas. This one here is rather interesting formations. These are military, obviously. I think they're probably missile bases here.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
What the heck is that? What is that? Why are they shaped like that?
Well, it's probably so they can exhaust out this way. When they launch the rocket, if they don't exhaust the plume to the side, it locks the rocket down with what's called a ground effect, and it can't take off.
Oh, so they're like exhaust shooting out from the side.
I think they bent down like that. Once it's fired, you'll be able to see where it was, which destroys the secrecy of it all. But anyway, that's.
Oh, that's probably why it's covered, right? Because it's a secret.
Yeah, but not anymore.
Snap.
Not anymore. Stanley certainly pointed to it. I'm sure the CIA and other people have analyzed it. Anybody that analyzes these
for sure
photographs.
What in the world is that? The one you're pointing at? Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, what is that?
That's another base of some description in Saudi Arabia. I don't know what they're doing with it.
It's completely covered. Like it's there, but it's covered.
You can see here in the gray, that's the exact coordinates of that. So you can go there and see this yourself. What was that? Let me see that again. Okay, that's in the Hafar al-Batin of Saudi Arabia. It even tells you the name of the place.
Yeah. I wonder if they're pissed off that people are able to see that stuff. But I guess that's why they make it look covered, right?
Well, the Saudis are not too keen on archaeologists going through certain places. They are not too keen on Google Earth posting certain images. They black out certain areas and won't let it be done. The Saudis even have on the coast of the Persian or the Arabian Gulf now, the Persian Gulf, they have a resort called Atlantis.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
I do believe it now.
Well, I'll tell you what, as I say, I looked over so many of these things.
Man, I could talk to you for like 20 hours. If you would, man, I'd love to have you back on in a few months or something. Like,
sure.
Because it seems like it never ends. I could just ask you millions. Like you got so many pictures and stuff. I don't want to keep you all night, Stan, but I do want to ask you a couple more questions. You mentioned something about the pyramids.
Yeah.
What do you? Recently I've been watching videos of the Giza pyramids and stuff. I'll like just guys walking in them and walking around because I know I'll never be able to see it in real life. So I'm like, man, I really want to see how big those stones are, like at a perspective as a human standing next to it, and they're huge, and they're stacked up very, very high. And I was like trying to think, how did they do that? How? Like, it didn't seem humanly possible with their technology.
Well, some of the older pyramids, if you look at them, they have collapsed under their own weight. And the engineering wasn't brilliant at the time, and they were made from mud, straw, brick constructions. Now, the Great Pyramid at Giza, a pyramid of Khufu, and also the Sphinx date way back pre-flood dates. And that could have been Atlantean, because the influence, according to the Greek legend, the influence of the Atlanteans went as far as the Santorini out in that area and over into Asia Minor, and through Egypt and to the west of Egypt. What is that called today? Anyway, that's where the influence of them ran. So they could have been in Egypt quite happily, and have produced the technology to make those pyramids. I mean, in the Persian Gulf, and I think it's in the island of, what's the island of? One of them there, south of Dammam Island on the coast there. It's not Qatar. I don't, well, it might be Qatar. It might be Bahrain. Bahrain, I think, was the one. They started excavating there. The European archaeologists did about 30, 40 years ago. And they were digging in the grave sites, because there's a lot of graves there. And they went down and down and down. They were about 80 feet down, and they were finding, as they got deeper, the technological advancements were greater, more high technology the deeper they went. And when the Sheikh found out what they were doing, he banned all American, all European, all non-Arabic archaeologists from the site, and never let us come back in to see. But that's where they found the lead acid batteries and stuff buried down, that deep. So that indicates, advanced technology.
So they definitely didn't drag them up there. How did they stack them?
Well, there's evidence that that they did build ramps, and that they swept the ramps away, dirt ramps. I mean, the Romans did the same thing at Masada. They built several years to build a ramp to get up to the Jewish, people that were up there hiding on Masada. They were the terrorists, the Romans called them, and they built that ramp to get up there. But did they do it in the times of Egypt? I don't know. I mean, even pulling it up a ramp like that,
those stones are they're huge.
Definitely.
Do you think the aliens had anything to do with it?
Atlantis, aliens. Well, hey, if it was part of the Atlantean influence, those were aliens, and they had technology at that time that they brought, some of it with them anyway, from the heavens when they came. They weren't dumbos. They were teaching people about fire and metallurgy and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Not the done thing according to God, but anyway, they were doing that.
Yeah. Man, Stan, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. You got so much stuff going on, man. It's amazing. I thank you so much for coming on the show. You blew my mind completely wide open. This is my favorite podcast I've done to date. Thank you from me and my audience, because I am always searching for new things to wrap my head around, and I love learning things, and this has been a great experience for me to learn new things, and it gives me more stuff to look into, because like I was saying, I was obsessed with space, but you've given me inspiration to look here on Earth for new cool things to search for.
I'm glad of that. I'm glad of
learn.
That. Well, look, I appreciate your time here, and the fact that you're willing to go out and look at more of these things to help the body of believers and would-be believers to understand the truth of the Bible. It's I bless you for that, and I hope your ministry just blossoms.
Hallelujah, man. Thank you, Stan, so much, man, and I'll keep in contact with you. Thank you. I'm going to get on your website and check out all your videos, and tell everybody your website and any other kind of book or video or any kind of thing that they can support you with.
Okay, well, it's the website is standeo.com, and if you look on the image here I'm putting on the screen, that's what our front page looks like. Standeo.com, STANDEYO.com. All of our books and videos and things, or at least the books and the PDF files, are here in the bottom. Dare to Prepare, Cosmic Conspiracy, which I really recommend, and Prophetic Perils of Prophecy interpreted there, and those are books. But then there are videos and things on my YouTube channel for you to see as well. Lots of those.
Great. Okay, Stan, I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you again. This is awesome, and I'll have it up in a few weeks. and I'll post this up, and I'll put all your links in there too, so people can find you and look for all your incredible books and all that stuff.
Thank you, Elijah. I hope
Thank
you
you.
have thousands of viewers.
I do, man. Thank you very much, Stan. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.